in this section, we're going to really look at introducing compassion and compassion-focused therapy. What is it? How do we define it? How can it be helpful in therapy and in grief? Compassion-focused therapy, it's a third wave therapy, very much founded on a combination of principles from cognitive behavioral therapy, evolutionary psychology, and attachment theory. And as it says here on the slide, it was developed specifically to work with clients who were experiencing a high level of shame and/or self-criticism. It's now, however, increasingly popular across a range of different difficulties. There's been a real rising awareness of the power of pro-social, compassionate interactions for well-being, and how the opposite is linked to mental distress. And with that, there's been a growth of different approaches to help people cultivate compassion for themselves and for others. And there are a really wide range of practices that texture compassion-focused therapy to help build compassionate competencies for clients. And we'll really be looking at a range of those today to give you lots of different kind of flavors of it. We'll cover just a few across this webinar. So CFT is really kind of seeking to create the conditions in therapy and within the patient or client to provide a stabilizing experience of a secure base and a safe haven, with that kind of empathy weaved in, to really help those we're working with to understand their own minds, that of others, and to bring in that soft, compassionate approach. So what do we often see in therapy? Whether working with grief or lots of other difficulties, because there are lots of different modalities that we can work from. And what we might see is that working with people, depending on the approach that you're using, can be really helpful at helping clients look at things in a different way. It might help them gather other perspectives, understand other perspectives. They might be able to even generate kind of alternative perspectives themselves. But this isn't always enough to create shift, to create change. Some of our clients will be struggling with long-term difficulties that they're struggling to shift. Maybe their grief they've experienced was a long time ago. Maybe it's very recent, but it's touched upon lots of other difficulties that they've been experiencing. And therapy can provide a really useful platform for talking through those things, processing, formulating what's happening in the now, and thinking about new strategies to move forward. But what are the real mechanisms that help people feel better? If you think now about the work that you do with clients, what is it about the work that you do that leads to seeing difference in the clients you work with? Where is the shift? Because the theory of compassion-focused therapy is that we need to feel congruent affect in order for our thoughts to be meaningful to us. Emotions sort of tag a meaning onto the experiences. So in order for us to be reassured by a thought such as, I am lovable, this thought needs to be linked to the emotional experience of being lovable. So sometimes challenging the thoughts, creating alternative thoughts is not enough. So CFT really targets the activation of what we call the soothing system. If that kind of positive affect system is not activated, there's a little feeling added to the thought. And if people who have very few memories or experiences of being, say, lovable or soothed, they may really struggle to feel reassured and safe just by generating alternative thoughts, which is why CFT really targets the activation of that system in a felt way. So it's very much a felt sense. This is what we really kind of educate people around, and then try and target with a range of exercises. Compassion-focused therapy is developed by Mr. Paul Gilbert. Some of you will have heard of him. And again, it was all based on Paul Gilbert noticing that many people could not create these affiliative feelings within themselves. So compassion-focused therapy was all about implementing change and strategies designed to target that initial shame and self-criticism that it was all centered around when it was first born. And again, all focused around promoting compassion for self and others. And we'll come on to thinking about the difference between those two. A very key part of compassion-focused therapy is differentiating between what they refer to as the old and the new brain.